on, everybody? Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise and clap it up. Get excited everywhere and anywhere that you are, because we got a new day in the world of sports as we now have a new undisputed heavyweight champion of the world in Alexander Usyk. That is right. He has conquered the heavyweight division. He has conquered the boxing landscape. Is he the pound-for-pound best in the world in Usyk Now with this incredible accomplishment? What does this mean for the grand scheme of not just boxing, but for sports in general as we know it, with a first undisputed champion in 25 years? On top of it, we had to cover the NBA playoffs with the conference finals now set. Pacers and Celtics, Timberwolves and Dallas. Brother, we going that Dallas series versus Timberwolves. That is going to be some kind of show. And these playoffs has all have been an incredible show to watch. I'm going to react to it all right here with you. So again, please leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and opinions, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. Again, we're making vast moves, and it's all thanks to you and your support. Keep on watching, keep on sharing, keep on getting entertained. I'm going to give it to you all the time, because this show is about excitement, it's about fun, it's about learning, and it's all about covering the world of sports, which I know as on this community we love to do. So again, without further ado, all that nicety aside, all that self-promotion aside, let's get right down to nitty-gritty and start off with the only relevant, well, not the only relevant topic, but the biggest topic of this week as we have to cover boxing. And since we're covering boxing, it is time to step into the ring. That's right. Oh yes. Ring the bell, let's get it started. Round one of this show underway in this boxing segment as we now have one of the biggest accomplishments that many didn't live to see. Many thought it was impossible. Never happened since I was born. But officially, we can sit here on a new day in boxing and in the sports world culture and say that we have definitively a brand new, and I do mean brand new, undisputed, undefeated, unquestionable, baddest man on the planet and heavyweight champion of the world. There is only one, and that one is Alexander Usyk. And what did I tell you? Let me tell you something right now. I'm not one to brag, but I'm clapping my own self. I'm clapping for my own self. I called it. Nearly right down to how the punch for punch went about. I was right. Thank goodness. And again, if I was wrong, hey, great. Upsets happen in my estimation. We would love to see what that storyline would have been, but didn't happen. I got it right. I called it. And I said that Usyk would beat this brother. Usyk was going to be something more than Tyson Fury had ever faced in his career. And this was going to be the man to finally be born from his mother, as Tyson Fury loves to say. He said he would never be beat by anybody that was born. Well, now, look at what happened. Now we got somebody who has beaten you, who has conquered the unconquerable, who has defeated the seemingly insurmountable mountain of a man and of talent that was Tyson Fury. And Usyk stands alone as not just the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, but definitively is now going to be seen as the best boxer of this generation. There is nobody, and I mean nobody, on the level of Alexander Usyk in the heavyweight division. It's definitive. This man, again, we're going to break down the fight, absolutely. But the ramifications of this definitively sets that Usyk is indeed the best heavyweight in the world for not just of right now, but for this generation of boxing, for this era of boxing that had Tyson Fury, that had AJ, that had Wilder, that had Andy Ruiz, that had Luis Ortiz. Usyk now is able to stand alone as the defining embodiment of what this era was, the pinnacle, the king, the true ruler of this era and this generation of heavyweight boxing. We said it would never happen. We said this fight wouldn't go about, but now that we finally got it, Turkish Al-Sheikh made it happen, threw enough money to where Tyson Fury could not refuse. All the antics, all the banter, all the left, right, and center craziness that was surrounding this entire scenario that we thought would never happen. Now it's come to grips. We have to come to grips with the fact that we can sit here and say that we have one and only one heavyweight champion. Nobody else. No other belt holders. No other title contenders. No other people that have that have rightful claim to the crown outside of one man, That one man is Alexander Usyk. How in the world did this man accomplish this incredible feat? Well, let's break down how this fight went about. And this went about in a very interesting way because on both sides of the coin, for both Tyson Fury and Usyk, both of them did exactly what I said would need to be done on their fronts in order for them to be successful and win the fight. And it was essentially who would do their due diligence to implement their game plan better. Tyson Fury did everything I said that he needed to do in order to win this fight. And mind you, give credit where credit is due. This was the best Tyson Fury I had seen in my life. I would definitively. This indeed was the best. This was the best. I know I'm overusing the sound, but for this situation, it's applicable. Because we were saying when after Francis Ngannou, this was going to be a cakewalk for Usyk. At least that's what I was saying. Other people were saying, oh, nah, that was a fluke. I was saying, no, this shows full well that Tyson Fury is nowhere close to what we've seen from Alexander Usyk. Maybe even against AJ, what we see now with the renewed AJ. My gosh, this man would never get back to what we thought he could be. But now, with the loss in weight, with the best physique that I saw him at in his career, he performed the best that I've seen. Better than Klitschko, better than how we did against Deontay Wilder, better than any of his other performances. This was the best Tyson Fury I had seen to date. And it was sublime from what we saw from him. And I had been saying that he is a good heavyweight with elite size. On this night, he fought like a great heavyweight. He did. There's no taking away from him. He fought like a great heavyweight with elite size. That is something I never thought he would elevate to, because I knew what he was capable of, but only up to the moniker of a good level. Good footwork, good jab, good head movement. But at that height, again, elite height with good skills is incredibly hard to beat for 90% of the populace in boxing. It is indeed. Absolutely. And like I said, you match him in one element, hey, now you got him. That's what I've been saying about Tyson Fury. Rightfully so. But now he showed me something. Okay, this is the best Tyson Fury. This is the real Gypsy King that he had been touting as and been showing as, yeah, I'm the best in the world. This is the brother that I've been waiting to see from Tyson Fury to prove to me that you are indeed an elite level skill set competitor. We know as a boxer as a whole, yes, you are elite. Again, second best in the world. But in terms of your skills, I said they were good on the level, on the level of good for the majority of your skill set. Coupled with elite size, now you become a real threat to anybody. But now he proved to be a great heavyweight. This brother, he was able, after losing the first 3 rounds on my estimation, to Usyk, who was being aggressive, who wasn't getting on the front foot, who was being somebody who was forcing the issue on Tyson Fury and coming forward, applying the pressure even when he wasn't throwing punches. When those middle rounds came about, we saw Tyson Fury take hold and do everything that I asked for. Everything that I asked for. Everything, which was ridiculous. Usyk, again, we'll go round by round. First 3 rounds, Usyk came out incredibly aggressive, was attacking the body of Tyson Fury, consistently was scoring shots. And forget going to the head all the time. Forget trying just to land a single one-shot blow. Attack the wide midsection of Tyson Fury. Even though it may not do much damage, it will get you ahead in points because the activity is going to be something that will let you not only apply pressure, let you get in range, let you be able to get comfortable with finding a rhythm, and as well in the judge's eyes, give you credence to say, oh, this man is landing stuff. It may not be damaging, but it is significant. It is consistent, and consistent scoring is always the best way to make sure that you can find your rhythm and make sure that you're up on the cards. That's what Usyk did for the first 3 rounds. Was able to close the distance. Was able to attack with whatever real estate was available. Didn't just go for headhunting like we've seen with other opponents. And he was able to win, in my estimation, the first 3 rounds from that consistent pressure and that consistent willingness to attack the body and take what was given to him. But in round 4, we saw Tyson Fury then turn it on and implement the best game plan I could see going up against Usyk. Attacking the body and landing that uppercut, that sneaky uppercut, the uppercut that he knocked out Dillian White with, the uppercut that he's hurt a lot of other opponents with, the uppercut that he would land on the inside with Deontay Wilder. Land that uppercut on Usyk as he's ducking down and coming inside, timing him when he closed the distance. Tyson Fury did that after round 4 for the rest of the fight. Found the punch that was giving him the best success and continued to catch him and hurt him multiple times. Was really rocking this brother on top of going to the body, letting that power really go to Usyk. Because at first it was more so, okay, the jab and the length of Fury was making it hard for Usyk to be able to get on the inside. Understand him. But then he wasn't putting anything behind the shots. He wasn't putting anything behind his punches. It was more so using the length to get Usyk uncomfortable. But then after round 4, he started really applying the power and the weight and all 260 of his frame to Usyk and made him feel it. Really did. You saw it. He was wincing. He was affected. He was having success and causing Usyk to get wary. And from that uppercut, what did he do? He made Usyk get wary to what? Again, repetition. He trained him. Like we've seen with a dog, when you give him a treat after doing a certain action, now he always expect it. He always expect it, and they do the same thing in order to get the same treat. That is what Fury did to Usyk. Kept on attacking that body round after round, applying the power, making him feel the weight, making him feel the physicality, and legitimately giving him some trouble. I was getting concerned because that body attack was consistent from Fury when he turned it on, and he, in terms of Usyk, wasn't able to adapt. On top of, with the body attack of Fury scoring and winning him rounds in those middle rounds, we saw the head movement and the footwork of Fury didn't really get to full effect. We saw him be able to reset in the ring multiple times. We saw him be able to, again, time Usyk with that uppercut and shots to the body and get out of dodge and be able to, again, showboat, get crazy. Like we know Tyson Fury can be when he feels that he's got you where he wants you. This was, again, the best Tyson Fury I had seen. And with him in this fight, everything compounded on this success, which that was supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. We saw Tyson Fury build a game plan and implement it. Let Usyk get comfortable. Again, trying to adapt and not get hit, understandable. But once he, in terms of Tyson Fury, found his distance and understood where Usyk was able to land, all of a sudden we saw Usyk not having as much success in those middle rounds and was continuing to get outboxed. Which is something that I said that Usyk would not let happen. Usyk is the better boxer. Usyk is the better technician. Usyk is the better fundamental strategist in this fight. With him training like Lomachenko, with them from that same kind of pedigree, having the ability to have incredible footwork, great slipping, great angles, be able to cut off, and again, be able to make it so that you can't get away. Like we saw with Usyk, stalk and walk, because Fury's footwork wasn't able to get him out of just completely of range. What we did see was Fury having the ability to, even though he couldn't escape Usyk Fury, was able to keep a distance to the point that he would be able to react to whatever Usyk was throwing and have success on his own end. Again, the taunting wasn't for nothing. It's because he said, okay, I got you now. I know what I need to do. I know where I need to be. Even though I may not be able just to get away from you entirely. I know what I need to do and where I need to be in this distance management game that you're trying to pull so that you can't hit me, but I can continue to score on you. And the damage started to accumulate. Everything started swaying to Tyson Fury in those middle rounds. From rounds 4 to about round 7, it was off here. It was off here. Round 6 hurt Usyk twice, again, with that uppercut. Was having some real concerns with whether or not Usyk would be able to turn it around, because all of a sudden it seemed like Fury had figured out what he needed to do, had gotten the distance to where even when Usyk would close in for those combinations, he would only whiff. It would be just out of reach to where he couldn't land. Whether it was the pawing jab or the jab game that Usyk was trying to play, we would see Fury again going to land that uppercut constantly, catching him, hurting him, wobbling him, making him wary, changing the trajectory of his uppercut from a body shot to a shot to the head, making it so that Usyk didn't really know what was coming. Would catch him in between combinations when Usyk would come and get really aggressive, or when he would begin his onslaught. It would be lull him to the ropes, let him come in, let him commit, and then boom, catch and step all at the same time. It was phenomenal work by Tyson Fury. A phenomenal game plan that was working and was, for me, at minimum tied it up, or at least up until round 7, had it down to 1 round to where it was that tight. However, next thing we know, we see at the end of that round, and for the rest of this fight, Usyk switched gears. We've talked about this with other fighters. Talked about this with other competitors. On this channel specifically, Terrence Crawford, Inoue, David Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez. We've talked about boxers who have a 6th gear, the ability to go and step to another level, even when they're already at 100%. Another elevation in their skill set that other boxers just don't have. Teddy Atlas said it best, just finding a way to win. It's more than that. For me, it's more than just finding a way to win. It's the ability to adapt and evolve mid-fight beyond the way that we thought would be possible. That's what Usyk's got. That's what Terrence Crawford has. That's what Benavidez has. That's what Canelo has. Sure enough, that's what Usyk's got right now. He showed it. He showed it. We saw it at the end of that round in round 7. Amped up the pressure. Many people didn't notice it. I did. This brother went and all of a sudden finished strong in the round when it seemed like Fury was having all the momentum. Eventually, Usyk went and said, okay, it's time for me to really work. Now it's time to go. And Usyk, that brother went from round 8 on, amped up his offensive output for the rest of the fight. Instead of attacking second and reacting to what Tyson Fury was going to do and reacting to the feints and reacting to what potentially the herky-jerky style that we've seen from Tyson Fury for years, which again he brought back to end this fight and was making Usyk uncomfortable, which is why he was able to score, which is why he was able to land that jab and time Usyk when he would use his head movement whenever he got back to send a pop every single time. Because he was always with that herky-jerky style, with that ability to, again, you don't know what's coming. All of a sudden, bam. I know when you're going to reset. That was Tyson Fury. Now, Usyk, forget trying to react to what you're going to do to me. Now, you have to react to what I'm doing. Stand the other way around. And he went and attacked first. He went and instead of waiting for Fury to make a move, he made a move instead. He was the one that emptied the pressure. He was the one that used his speed and his combination punching to make Fury not be able to catch him with one-shot punches anymore, which is what he was killing him with the entirety of the night. It was Fury would throw 1 to 3 shots. If it was the body attack, he would throw 1 to 3. If it was the uppercut, he would throw 1 and then get back out of dodge and then lull out that jab. He stopped that uppercut for with two things, with aggression and changed the way that he blocked. He got privy to the uppercut, and instead of trying to just slip it, instead of trying to just dodge it and continually getting caught with it, this brother instead went for, again, a Philly shell, somewhat of a Philly shell. Block down here, forearm, block the body. Oh, no, excuse me, he is, what is he? No, he went this way. Forearm blocked the body, lead arm blocked the head, and he would essentially duck into the punch, making it so that this bearing on this side of his guard was essentially block and negate it. So even if he went to the body, it's there. If he went upstairs, guess what? You can't get up under this. Under this. There's nothing you can do. And he would lean into it. And that's how he stopped that uppercut. That's how he stopped it. That's something I didn't even think of. But he did it. He changed the way that he blocked, and instead of trying to slip the punch and slip the uppercut, he went into the uppercut. Made it so that he smothered it. He did what Tyson Fury does with his other opponents, smothered the offense of Fury to then be able to, once he got back out, or once he, again, with Fury, once he threw the punch and then went to step out, following him out with the same punch combination, would throw 2 jabs, or would throw 2 right hands back to back, would follow him out of all of his exit angles instead of just throwing a shot and trying to stalk him down. On top of the fact that for the entirety of the fight, his superior footwork in Usyk was stalking and walking Fury down to make it so that, again, he couldn't escape, like I said earlier, keeping that constant pressure on him. And then he changed the way that he threw his combinations so that he would be able to land. Instead of just throwing the straight right jab, left straight, he would then follow him out with it, with a looping hook, with doubling up on the shots to make it so that you were going to feel my power and my offense when you get to the ropes. You're never going to be just safe in any given situation. That's what Usyk said in the night before the fight when he was asked what you're going to do. I'm going to be on you all night long. That's what he said. Again, paraphrase. And he proved it. He did just that. Then afterwards, round 8, goes and ups the offense, stops the uppercut, and breaks the nose of Fury. Catching him with, a looping hook. Breaks the nose of Fury. Has him, now you're in real trouble. Then round 9 happens, and the best round of the fight for Usyk happens, and he knocks him down. Knocks the brother down. Gets the brother nearly off his feet within the last 30 seconds of the fight. After he upped the aggression, after he stopped the uppercut, after he was attacking first, after he made sure that Fury's fights weren't affecting him anymore and caused Fury to be the one to react to everything. Then, what did he do? Slip on the inside of his jab instead of slipping on the outside, threw a jab, threw an overhand. The same punch that caught Fury when it was against Cunningham, the same punch that's giving him trouble against smaller opponents, was the same punch that put him in trouble again. Against a middleweight, Fury's words. Against somebody who was incredibly smaller. Against somebody who's 30 pounds lighter than somebody like Fury, even with him cutting weight. This was what Fury said would never happen. Too light to punch, too light to have any power, too small to be able to really affect him. Wasn't the case. Caught him with a looping hook. Right smack in the face. Had that brother on Easy Street. Had that brother on Dream Street. Had that man on skates for the last 30 seconds of that round. And to be perfectly honest, the fight could have been stopped right there. The fight could have been stopped right then and there. There would be no qualms if you stopped that fight. Because for 30 seconds straight, Usyk was able to unload on Tyson Fury, and Fury had no defense whatsoever. Literally got ping-ponged from the ropes to the left corner, back to the right corner, back to the left corner. Did not defend a single thing. He couldn't get out the way. He was off. He was out. He was out. He was out like we saw him out against Deontay Wilder. But instead of it being on the ground, it was on his feet. And if it should have been, a knockdown was called, especially when he got sent to the red corner. And Usyk caught him with a 1-2 that was lightning quick and really stumbled that brother, almost had him dropping. That should have been where the knockdown really happened. But in any point in that 30-second span, it could have been called a knockdown. And if anything, could have been called a knockout. Because there was nothing, no defensive awareness on the side of Fury. He was showing you nothing that he was prepared to continue this fight. It could have been, and honestly, should have been called a knockout. We could have really been saying, there's a real argument that this should have been called a knockdown. Not knockdown, a knockout. That the fight should have ended in round 9. Would have been completely fine with it. Because there was no answer from Tyson Fury. The worst I have ever seen Tyson Fury out on his feet since Deontay Wilder. And we've seen him be able to recover. We've seen him out. We haven't seen him gone. This was gone. This was gone. Only comparable to Deontay Wilder when he got knocked down and what we thought was a knockout, but got back up. That was it. In an inhuman feat of heart and ability to take a punch. But what did I say was going to be the biggest thing in this fight that people didn't talk about? The loss in weight could be the very thing that stops the shock absorber. Because against all your other fights, again, outside of Cunningham, you would face bigger punches than Cunningham. You would face stronger punches than Cunningham. You've been hit flush. You had. And only by the best punchers in the world, Wilder and Ngannou, when you hit your prime, you had gotten put on the canvas with. Only the best in the world that would knock out anybody in any era. But against somebody like Usyk, the shock absorber with you losing all that weight, we hadn't, there's a real argument, we hadn't seen him that dazed and that much out of it. Even against somebody like Deontay Wilder. And the 3 knockdowns that he had put on him by Wilder. Against the knockdown with Francis Ngannou. Never been that hurt before. This was a different level of being out on your feet. He was indeed out on his feet. There was the weight, the shock absorber of the body, being 270, sometimes 280, works in the favor. Now that it was gone, all of a sudden you couldn't take the punch. You couldn't take the power if you didn't get land clean flush. It was ridiculous. But it's exactly what I thought would happen. Hence the power, the underrated power of Usyk would be something that would affect you because the fact that you thought he was too small, you went and took off too much. And you got put in the worst case scenario possible. The game-changing round in the fight. When the biggest reason why that happened, not just because of the perfect punch placement by Usyk, not just because of the adaptability, but also because of that weight cut. The shock absorber was no longer there. And it would have allowed for you to take a punch like that and keep on going, not be nearly as severely hurt. Not saying, hey, potentially couldn't have happened the same way, but I am saying I do understand that would have, the extra weight would have definitely helped you from being put in that much of a dangerous situation where you arguably should have gotten stopped outright. And the fight should have ended right then and there. But again, it's Tyson Fury. What is he? We've seen this brother get up from what seems like insurmountable odds. We had to get the ref gives him the benefit of the doubt. 8 count in the corner as he collapses in the corner. Like Goliath falling to his knees. And just look, oh my gosh. It was ridiculous watching that. Gets up round 10, 11, and 12. All Usyk. All domination. All continued pressure. All just outright outclassing at that point. Because Usyk had him. He had him. He had him and he didn't let him go. Even with Fury, again, doing work, coming on strong, at least in that 12th round. Giving me a legitimate scare. I thought he had caught Usyk again and putting him in a situation where Fury, hey, he might get a knockdown. He might hurt him and he might actually be able to knock him out because, again, he's got the power to do so. We saw him rock Usyk multiple times. Turns out it didn't happen. Stayed on his feet, stayed aggressive, was able to win this fight and become the undisputed heavyweight champion to win in an absolute barn burner of a fight. Absolutely incredible. It was insane to see. It was insane to see. Now that we've broken down the fight and exactly what happened and why this split decision came about, we now need to discuss what this means. Not just that he is the undisputed heavyweight champion. Not just that he is indeed the best heavyweight in the world, not just of today, but of this generation. Full stop. Now comes the question of pound for pound. Everybody has been talking about this. He who is indeed the pound for pound king now. We've had, and I've been on record saying, Inouye's the best in the world. I still believe, as a talent, he is the best in the world. There's not a boxer that is better than Inoue, and I still stand by. You put him up against any weight, he knocks anybody out or beats anybody at minimum. Y'all, people killed me for that when I put out that short about that whole thing. I still stand by it because I ain't wrong. I know I ain't wrong about that. But I'll tell you this right now. With what we've seen from Usyk, Usyk epitomized what it meant to be pound for pound. This is a man who won cruiserweight, became undisputed, first man since Evander Holyfield. Is the only other man outside of Evander Holyfield to unify and become undisputed in the cruiserweight division and move up to heavyweight and become undisputed in the heavyweight division. That's it. And he did it against a man who was 30 pounds heavier than him. I've gotten on when people talk about Tank and Inoue, how that fight when it needs to happen. They say, oh, put him against Tank. Tank will knock him out. If that's how they feel. That's how they feel. My whole thing is Tank is 130, 135. Inoue is 120. Or excuse me, 122. Potentially will move up to 125 eventually. There is still a big gap relative to that fight actually happening. But we see that as a weight discrepancy, an insane weight discrepancy. Almost a preposterous thing. They're nowhere close. Usyk versus Fury doubled that same weight advantage. Usyk versus Fury was the equivalent of seeing Terrence Crawford go up and fighting and beating Canelo Alvarez. Rocking Canelo Alvarez. Nearly knocking out Canelo Alvarez. Like that's insane. And we've been saying that if Crawford went and did that against the undisputed best super middleweight in the world, and undisputed super middleweight champion, and he went from 147 to 168 and knocked him out. Even with him going from 154 to 168, still, we saw what happened with Jermell Charlo. As we know, Terrence Crawford is fighting at 154 for a title. But let's say he wins the title at 154. Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford actually happens, like we've heard from Turkish Al-Sheikh, the promoter in Saudi Arabia, who's put on all these other events for boxing, who put on this undisputed heavyweight bout, who's talked about making that fight happening. We see Crawford go from 154 to 168 and do what we saw Jermell Charlo not be able to do and beat, potentially knock out, at least knock down at minimum, Canelo Alvarez and beats him, we will be ranting and raving. That's the best in the world. The historical significance of this bout, on top of the weight discrepancy of literally being 30 pounds, 262 versus 232, or potentially 222. And he did that, and he beat him. He outclassed him. He outclassed the best version of Tyson Fury that we had ever seen. At that much of a weight discrepancy with a weight class that has no weight limit, excuse me. I have to put Usyk as the best in the world, pound for pound, on my list because of this achievement. Again, in terms of talent and who is the best fighter in the world, in a way, it's still better than everybody else. But pound for pound also indicates what have you done, the significance of what you just did. How does that compare to everybody else? That takes something into account. We've talked about what my pound for pound requirements are: consistency, accomplishments, talent. Consistency, how often you fight, the talent of fighter that you are, the accolades that you have done, and the significance historically of what those accolades mean. That's been my barometer. What you do, how good you are, what the accolades that you've done, and the significance in the grand scheme of boxing. Usyk has checked every box with this fight. There's no, I can't not put this man as the best pound for pound in the world. Terrence Crawford was saying that you got to give him his flowers. Right now, he is the pound for pound best in the world because of what he just did and against who he did it versus. There's no, you have to. Do I think that Crawford and, in a way, are better boxers? Yes. But right now, they're not pound for pound. Usyk epitomized what it meant to be pound for pound. In the last 25 years, never been an undisputed champion. And you do it down 30 pounds versus somebody else who is seen as the biggest heavyweight today. In the era of big heavyweights, where literal size is everything when it comes to boxing at that division. You as an undersized heavyweight goes in and still is able to do what many seem like is impossible, to do what we've seen other boxers of your same stature try to do against Usyk and fail miserably. Derek Chisora, outboxed and done away with. Dillian White, knocked out. Randall Cunningham, even after, I believe Randall Cunningham, I forget his first name, but Cunningham, the man that knocked you down into Tyson Fury. What did you do? Turn it into a brawl and knock them out. Savagely. We know what you've done. We know what this is in terms of what Tyson Fury does. And you were able to finally be the man to beat him. Hey, it is what it is. Not only every single belt, but also the Ring Magazine title and the lineal heavyweight championship, going all the way back to the first ever heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. You took that mantle for yourself, as now you are the rightful ruler of the lineage, of the history of this division, the glamorized division, the biggest, literally the biggest division in boxing. No, there's no way. I can't overlook that. I have to put him as the best pound for pound boxer in the world. I have to. I'm not trying to go and flip-flop, go back and forth, move and just, go with the wind, go with what everybody else is saying. No, I don't do that. Because remember, when I said Inoue was the best, I held on to that and still have been holding on to that, as he's the best in the world. As for a talent, pound for pound, I had him as the best. It would take something so monumental to knock him down. It would. Terrence Crawford, I had him tied with what he did with Errol Spence Jr. And then with Inoue again going and dominating again, with that consistency, moved him back up to number one. Now, this is the thing to put him over Inoue. For now. This is the thing to put him over Inoue for now. Beating and becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world against the man that has you, again, 30 pounds below at a deficit, and still were able to not only beat him, rock him, knock him down, adapt and overcome. The performance coupled with the significance, coupled with the everything that goes along with this win, he's pound for pound best in the world. Usyk is indeed the pound for pound best in the world right now. We have to give him his just due. It could change, absolutely. If it doesn't, guess what? I'm going to say that Usyk still is. But as of right now, Alexander Usyk is the best pound for pound boxer in the world. You beat the biggest of the big when you were the smallest of the small in a division that only accentuates size. And you did what everybody thought was impossible. Could people come to me saying, no, there's no way. He's too little. He's too much of a middleweight. Overcame all that. Outboxed and performed at your best against the best version of who many people thought was the best boxer in that division. And you beat him, in my opinion, definitively in an incredibly close fight. But still, I had it unanimous at the end of my scorecard. Split decision, I can understand. Absolutely. There's no corruption, no bad ill will, no insane, oh my gosh, outrage. No. It's possible that it could have been a draw. It is. But for me, unanimous. It was indeed. Usyk beat this man, and solidified himself as the best heavyweight in the world. Did the thing that nobody thought anybody could do. Well, except for, again, fans and understanders of who was the better boxer. On top of doing it with this level of significance and importance surrounding what the winner of this fight means for the history of boxing, defining an era, defining a generation, being the man that everybody then now looks up to and says that is the standard. Legitimately the brightest lights possible versus the best version of the biggest opponent in that entire division, who nobody has seen be able to keep down. You did it. You did it. You did it in terms of Alexander Usyk. That's the best in the world. That is definitively the best boxer in the world, in my estimation. There is no question. Now, the only thing I hate about that, and the last thing with Usyk, is the fact that we won't see an undisputed champion for long, because he's going to be stripped of the IBF title by the IBF, because they're going to demand a 2-week, again, mandatory for Hrgovic. And he's going to be stripped in terms of Usyk, because Tyson Fury says he's going to implement his rematch, fight him again in October. That's what the goal is anyway. And now we're going to see the IBF title get stripped from Usyk because that rematch is going to happen. It's going to happen. And and Hrgovic and I believe Dubois are going to fight for that title. And so, which I hate to say, it sullies what this significance is in terms of the historical context of Undisputed, because now we don't have just a one-man champ. Because somebody in the belt commission continues to not want to play nice with everybody else, continues to want to rob history from actually not just happening, but unfolding. We saw the same thing happen with Terrence Crawford. Even though we saw Errol Spence be able to hold that same title, all the times he was reigning without having to do any sort of mandatory work for the IBF. Yet, Terrence Crawford becomes undisputed, has all the belts at his disposal. Next thing you know, stripped 2 weeks. Given to Joanne Boots Ennis. Which again, love the fact that he's a champion. But the fact that you made it so that you stripped the undisputed title from from Terrence Crawford is insane and ridiculous and preposterous. Hypocritical of everything that you stand for as an organization. You want the best of the best fighting the best, do you not? To represent your belt in the best of your capabilities. Well, now, and you also want money. Now you're going to get a rematch of a highly competitive, incredibly entertaining, undisputed fight, and you now want to sully that by not having your belt be a part of it because, oh, we got to uphold our standard when your standard has been floozy ever since you've been initiated? It's ridiculous, and it's stupid, and it's ignorant as a belt commission. Shame on you as the IBF for continuing to do this stupid, hypocritical, preposterous mess that continues to ruin what we have as this sport gets to evolving. It's insane. We've had some of the, over the past year and a half, we've had the best run of boxing in terms of consistent top-tier matches, title, and undisputed fights happening left, right, and center. And you still want to continue to sully the momentum by now in what would be great rematches, taking away the belt, taking away the title of undisputed. But we, as real fans, we know who really stands atop. We know who really stands alone. We know and understand who is indeed the baddest man on the planet. That is Alexander Usyk. Oh, that's not going to change. That's not going to change at all. I can't wait for the rematch. Could we see Tyson Fury do something different? Very well. We could see Tyson Fury from this fight evolve and get even better. Because again, he had success for those first for rounds 4 to round 7. But it was having success. Came on strong in round 12 as well, even though Usyk outdid him. Don't count Fury out from just being done. There was an inkling in me that said maybe we'll see Fury retire after this fight, potentially. But oh no, after this performance, and if he keeps this same type of discipline for the rest of his career, even at this advanced age, oh, we could see it happen again. And we could see him beat Usyk. It's entirely possible. Because this was an incredibly entertaining fight. Incredibly entertaining. If he was having success, it's not like he just got whitewashed. He got outclassed in the end. But oh, he gave Usyk some insane trouble. Don't just expect for him to only stay stagnant, especially after this. When he comes back, we could see an even better Tyson Fury than we saw last time. That could lead to a whole new outcome. Or not. Who knows? There is an ability to change and evolve on Tyson Fury's end. Coming into the rematch. That could be, oh my gosh. They really could. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see that fight happen. I can't wait to see them go at it again. Because this is what we want from boxing. This is what we want from what was one of the biggest sports in the world. Top 3 in America, let alone the globe. This is what we want to see. The best of the best, fighting the best, rematching and evolving and changing. Going and making their legacies even more substantial. This is what we need. This is what we need. This is what we need from the sport. And it's great that we're getting it. This rematch is going to be insane. I can't wait to see it. But this in the historical context of boxing, nay, the sports world, we now have one icon. And that's the biggest thing. And that's will be the real last thing for this segment of the show, for this boxing segment. The significance of this fight is bigger than just it's undisputed. It's bigger than just it is one man that holds all the belts in the heavyweight division. It's bigger than just that Usyk is the baddest man on the planet because he is the undisputed heavyweight champion. It is big because what this means for boxing, one, is that the era of big heavyweights might be coming to an end. It very well could be. The era of just size, meaning everything in the heavyweight division, might be coming to an end. Because the smallest man in the division has beaten AJ twice, has beaten Derek Chisora, and has beaten Tyson Fury. Has beaten everybody that's been put in his way. 6-0, I believe, not maybe 6 or 7-0. Now as a heavyweight, coming up from cruiserweight. When I've been saying that bigger heavyweights aren't better, they're just bigger. They don't have the talent, they just have the size. Now you put somebody with dimensions similar to Ali or George Foreman in terms of 6'3", 220, 230, 78 to 83 inch reach. Again, Usyk's got a 78 inch reach. I believe Ali had a 78 to 80. Foreman had a 80 to 83, I believe. But that height, with that skill set now, even though it was monstrous in the day when Ali and Foreman were around, again, Foreman being 6'3", 220, 225, Ali being 6'3", 210, 215. In his prime, 210, 215. As we came on, when he became iconic, was more so 220. But that type of build coupled with athleticism and skill set, they had everything. Now, Usyk is a callback to that old generation of boxing. We could see more boxers now coming in at that same type of slimmer, smaller build, but better outright talent. Better skills that mirror lightweights, middleweights, super middleweights. The more tactical affairs, the more offensive heavy fighters, not just power punching fighters. The Tysons, the Ken Nortons, David Tua, even. We could see these types of boxers make a resurgence and be able to be successful. Because now somebody paved the way. That yes, if your talent is up to par, you can beat this land of giants just by sheer technique alone. That's what Usyk did. That's what Usyk did. Again, he had athleticism, of course. Yes, absolutely. But the technique is what did it. Cunningham was athletic. Wasn't nearly as technical. Wilder was athletic. Was nowhere close to technical. AJ, athletic and technical. But he got outclassed by somebody who's better technically. This is the type of heavyweights that we want to see back. This is the type of, like with Holyfield, this is the type of heavyweights that give you work. These are the type of heavyweights that are constantly action-packed, exciting to watch, hard to figure out, and incredibly entertaining to see. That is what we want. Technique and size combined in a perfect blend. That's what Tyson was. That's what, again, Lennox Lewis was. It's probably the last great, all-time great heavyweight. Again, now Usyk goes into that fold. But, and again, this is not saying that Fury isn't great. No. But we're talking about somebody that had all of the skills at an elite level on top of being athletic. Last great big man outside of Tyson Fury in terms of Lennox Lewis. But he still was better technically than Fury. Absolutely he was. He would beat Tyson Fury. Yes, he would. But that brand of heavyweights, then from Lewis going back, that type of stuff is the successful stuff, is the quality content, is the quality boxer that we're looking for in the heavyweight division. Joe Louis, Georgia Joe Walcox, Ezra, not Ezra Charles, excuse me, but that lineage, that line of fun, exciting, Joe Frazier, Michael Spinks to a lesser degree. These types of all-time great heavyweights that were multidimensional, had skill sets, had the ability to be diverse and talented and technically sound, while still being, again, they weren't the biggest of the big, but they were dominant. Dominant. This is what we want. This is what makes the heavyweight division exciting and at its best. Forget being 16 or whatever stone that we see these people at right now for my UK fans or overseas fans. Forget being 250, 260 in terms of pounds. Forget being the biggest of the big. Be the best of the best. Not because you're bigger than them, but because you are indeed technically better than them. You are a better fighter, not just a better specimen. It's been a landscape of specimens for the boxing world for the longest time. Now, we can lawfully look and say that's done away with. Now it's a brand of talent led by the charge of Alexander Usyk that can go and wipe out the big, lumbering, out of shape, no stamina, no technique, all power, draining fights that we see from people like Gillian White, from people like Derek Chisora. Having to have people like Povetkin get back on drugs to all of a sudden have a resurgence. Big Baby Miller, all these types of boxers, gone. Having actual talent run the divisions. Technical ability, speed and technique, nuanced talent and offensive outputs. Stamina that can go 12 rounds. Back in the day, stamina that could go 15 rounds. Action all throughout. The ability to evolve and change because you have that innate skill. And you're not just because if you get shut down in one way, you have no other answer. That's what heavyweights used to have. That's what heavyweights now lack in an incredible high demand. Or to an incredible degree, rather. Now that that's gone, potentially with Usyk leading the charge, this is what we need from our heavyweights. This will bring the division back to the glamorous state that it used to be. The pinnacle, the prize-fighting state that it used to be. Yeah, indeed it will be. Indeed it will. This is it's incredible. It is incredible what we saw from Alexander Usyk. The precedent that he has set potentially will be felt for the rest of boxing. Hopefully for years to come. Hopefully we see that this man has now changed the way that we think that a heavyweight needs to be, that a heavyweight should be. That causes these other boxers to now go and change and adapt. Maybe causes cruiserweights to now come up. People like Jai Alpatai, even though he didn't have a great performance in his fight, in a very tough fight, and on the same card as Fury and Usyk. But he still have him move up, have an exciting, fast, again, athletic, hard-hitting cruiserweight, which people weren't saying Usyk was, coming to the division. That would be incredible to see. Have some bridgerweights come and move up. Make it so that we imbue the landscape with talent, athletic and more fundamentally sound talent, rather than just having lumbering heavyweights. It's very what we could see. And if it is, my gosh, it's going to be such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing to watch. Oh, I can't wait for it. This is a monumental day not just in boxing, but in sports as a whole. Because now we have one man that can be identified for everybody in the world. Who is the heavyweight champion? It is Alexander Usyk. Who is the darling of the most exciting division? It's Alexander Usyk. Who is the baddest man on the planet? Alexander Usyk. Who is the one to rule them all? It's Alexander Usyk. If heavyweights have the one definitive name, that leads to everybody else getting their name shown in a higher light as well. Everybody else gets now a rub off of the significance of Usyk. Everybody. And the sport only gets better and better because of it. Because there's one face that you can apply to the biggest, most glamorized division in boxing. In the undisputed face. That face is Alexander Usyk. And props to him for accomplishing what everybody thought was nigh impossible. Making us see that skill and ability and technique is truly what wins you today, not size. Not just being a great specimen, but being a great boxer. That's what Usyk is. And props to that brother who has now done his due diligence, climbed the mountain, and become the undisputed heavyweight champion. My gosh, it's just a beautiful thing to see. Oh, it's so beautiful. But again, we still got more to cover in the world of sports as we have the NBA playoffs. That is right. And let me tell you something right now. We got ourselves an incredible matchup coming up with these conference finals with the Timberwolves and Dallas and the Celtics and Pacers. One thing before we touch on that, with the Knicks losing to the Pacers in Game 7, this team lost due to injury. They were the better team. They were the team that had this team's number. They had Halliburton and the Pacers' number. They did. When OG went down and started a cavalcade of events that caused for them to get hurt more and more and more and more and more. To the point that they were just too beat up to be able to compete with the offensive output of the Pacers. Again, the Pacers had the best offense in the NBA. Regardless of what you want to say about the name power outside of Halliburton, this team was indeed clicking on all cylinders when it comes to putting the ball in the bucket. But with the length of OG Anunoby, with, again, Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein being able to be down low to get every single board and be an interior force in a lob threat, On top of Jalen Brunson averaging 33 just about for the series before getting injured in Game 7. DiVincenzo playing phenomenal. You had Josh Hart putting up insane numbers, giving you literally 10 and 18, which is insane for somebody who's 6'3". But he was putting up those types of numbers, coming up clutch in big moments. They had this team's number. It just, as the series went on, they just got hurt. But mark my words, now that this team showed that they are real, that Jalen Brunson is indeed real, that Jalen Brunson can lead to a conference finals potentially, and potentially with another key piece, a legitimate NBA finals appearance, we could see some real noise coming in the offseason with players wanting to go and play there because they have an identity. They have structure. Yes, we know James Dolan is still over that team, and we don't like James Dolan. Understandable. But in spite of James Dolan, still, they have a level of consistency. In spite of what should be a terrible front office, they have built an incredible team. All they need to do is get rid of Julius Randle, who again wasn't even able to play. Why do you think they made it so far? Because he wasn't able to play. That detriment of a player offensively, that shock chucker at 6'9", who is too small to really bang and dominate down low like he thinks he can, but is too big just to be sitting on the perimeter, but somehow plays the opposite of both of those tendencies. He is still one of the biggest reasons why this team was not able to be successful. The biggest reason why that being, again, a duo with Randle and Brunson was never going to work. Now we get to see, oh my gosh, with him off the floor, we could actually, we're able to do this. My goodness, the offense opened up. Everybody was able to eat. There was no stagnation. Stuff felt fluid with Julius Randle off the court. Now get him off the team and put in another either supporting cast and or, dare I say, a legitimate star at the helm. My goodness. Whether we could see this team legitimately get to the finals in the next 3 years, 2 years, without they perform this season. If it wasn't a fluke and they keep on producing at this high level and that Villanova chemistry that Hart, DiVincenzo, and Brunson have cultivated with each other, and the chemistry with the entirety of that Knicks organization, with Brunson as the definitive man to lead the charge, this could be something insane. We could see the Knicks legitimately in the finals within the next 3 years. Oh, it's entirely possible. Not to mention, we're seeing something that we saw from other small players. Remember Isaiah Thomas on Boston? When he was averaging 29? One of the best scorers in the NBA before his hip injury? One of the best leaders in the NBA? At only being 5'9"? Getting semblances of that from Jalen Brunson. If he hadn't fractured his hand and was able to play like he wanted to play, maybe this would have been able to turn around in Game 7. But even still, this brother, Brunson, with this Knicks squad, is looking to do some real damage next season. Don't let a star get to New York. Don't let it happen. Don't let a star get to New York. Because if a star gets to New York, we could legitimately see this team evolve into not just a finals contender, but a finals threat. A team that will be able to knock off number 1 and number 2 seed and get to the finals. Get to what they haven't been at since the 1990s. Winning championships since 67. Was it 64, 67 since Walt Frazier? They could actually do it. This isn't hyperbole anymore, which is insane to say. This team is built to be something dangerous within the next 3 seasons. Dare I say 2? Dare I even say next season? Depending on what offseason moves they make with their season coming to an end. This is, oh gosh, this could be something serious. Because they have something that players have been longing for when it comes to New York. They have stability. When you got stability, even with somebody as volatile as James Dolan, there's hope that we can now see legitimately a big-time star get to New York, pair with Jalen Brunson, and take this team over the top. Oh, it's entirely possible. It is a possible trajectory that this team could be on, and I'm excited to see it. But again, that's what they brought to the table. They're out. Now you get Pacers and Celtics. We already know how the series is going to go. Celtics in 4. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it a sweep. They don't have, with respect to OG Anunoby, respect to Tyrese Halliburton, with respect to Miles Turner, and the rest of that squad, they can't beat Boston. Even without Porzingis, they can't beat Boston. They can't. They cannot. All that best offense in the league isn't going to be able to stop Boston. It's not going to be able to overcome what Boston's going to bring. OG Anunoby is a great defender. Tyrese Halliburton is not. And to a degree, we overestimated what Tyrese Halliburton really was. Again, he's still a phenomenal passer. Absolutely. He's still a great player. Don't get me wrong. But I think I had my expectations of him way up here after what we saw from him last season as a player. Now, got quelled a little bit. Got mitigated a little bit. Now we get a better sense of what he is as a player. And with him being the best player on that team versus somebody like Jason Tatum, and somebody like Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford, and Derek White, who's been playing absolutely phenomenal this season, and I don't think they'll be able to do it. I think they're going to get swept. I think they're going to get definitively swept. Ironically enough, Celtics have had the best and easiest route to the finals out of any other team. Because everybody's either been significantly below their level and or hurt. Now, I can understand they're the 1 seed. They should have the right to be able to get the easiest road because they're the best team in the regular season. As a 1 seed, you get to face the 8 seed and the worst teams, potentially. So this wasn't out the question. But in terms of injuries, my gosh. Seen this before with the Warriors, have we not? Ironically enough, when they were on their run, 2015 finals, what happens? We see, I believe, Kawhi get hurt, and during that run of their dominance in that decade. Kawhi got hurt when the Spurs looked like they could beat him. LeBron's team got hurt. Kevin Love and Kyrie, series before and couldn't play. Still took them to 6. Then they get Kevin Durant. A very fortunate circumstance. 2020, no qualms with 2020. But everything else, hey, oh my. Again, I'm just playing if you're a Warriors fan. Just kidding. Pulling your chain, trying to eke out some rage from you. But still, we've seen this before with teams all of a sudden, hey, this team really hasn't been tested like we want to see. They may not be tested up until the finals. And I think that's what we're going to see with Boston. They won't be tested up until they face off against either the Timberwolves in Dallas. And which brings me to the series that will feed families. Timberwolves versus Mavericks. Luka versus Karl Anthony Towns. Not Karl Anthony Towns, my bad. Luka versus Ant. Cat versus Kyrie. This is gonna be a series. Because we didn't think that we would see Denver lose. I picked Denver to win the finals. I said if the Lakers can't beat Denver, nobody can beat Denver. Because Lakers are the best equipped to beat them. They have the personnel, they have the pieces, they have the offense. They do, when they're at the best. If they can't beat them, with how close that series is always with them, leading every single game, and still Nuggets come back out on top. Hard for me to see anybody beating them. Next thing you know, the Timberwolves go and run rough shot over them. 2 straight games. Nuggets evolve and come back, like we know the Nuggets would do. Seemed like they were going to take this series in 6. Ant forces game 7. Ant and the Timberwolves force game 7. And then, my gosh, when we thought the Jokic was going to come back with a vengeance, next thing we know, both Jokic and Jamal put up 30. Yes, they do. On a horrible field goal percentage. Horrible. Michael Porter Jr. sucked. Aaron Gordon sucked. Everybody wet the bed when it came to playing in Game 7 due to the defense and the outright tenacity that we saw from Naz Reid, that we saw from Karl, that we saw from Gobert. Gobert hitting a turnaround fadeaway on Jokic from about 21 feet out. We've never seen man do nothing but a dunk and a lob for the majority of his entire career. One of the worst offensive pieces on this squad. All of a sudden he puts up 11 and puts up shots like that. It was deflating. The Nuggets got what they normally do to every other team done to them. Demoralized. That shot by Gobert demoralized them. That 3 from Ant in the last closing seconds of the game demoralized them. Aaron Gordon missing the dunk demoralized them. it was key plays that sucked the life out of the building. Key plays that made this seem like we're done. That's what happened. That's what happened. All that talk from Mike Malone, all that talk from Jamal Murray, and now, boom, you're done. Speaks to the leadership and greatness of somebody like an Ant. This man is legitimate. This man this man, Anthony Edwards, this brother's a dog. This brother's real. This man is serious. As a leader, as a player, as a defensive and offensive monster, he can do both. Still can get better defensively, but we see the effort. We see him getting in pass lanes. We see him guarding up and being physical. We see him being able to, I believe, when playing Jamal Murray straight up, held on 28% from the field. This brother he's got the inklings of an all-time great in him. Yes, he does. People comparing him to Jordan. I'm not comparing him to Jordan. No, I'm not. In terms of the turning point in people to where we see, oh, this is different. Start from Luka, start from LeBron, start from Kobe when he had to turn around. We see it from Ant. We really do. We see it from Anthony Edwards. There's something. There's a tenacity. There is a aura of just a different type of player to anybody else in the league that was seen from this man. He's loud. He's brash. He's cocky. He knows what he's about. He knows how good he is. He's all about his team. He don't care who you are. He steps to you. He can shoot from anywhere on the floor. An incredible driving threat will only get better and better. Especially offensively, what we saw the Nuggets be able to do for about 3 games leading up to game 7. We're going to see that man not have that problem being doubled come next season. I guarantee you. We're going to see this man change and evolve to another level. I promise you. And for regards to this series specifically, we could see Ant legitimately get to the finals with this squad. And it's not because I have no doubt that Luka and Kyrie are going to be something phenomenal to watch. It's the supporting cast is not the same as we saw with the Nuggets. The reason why the Nuggets were able to be so successful and force us to a game 7 when it seemed like they were outclassed because the supporting cast were seasoned, ready, and were able to play their role when it came time to be called upon. I don't see Derek Lively, Gafford, Tim Hardaway Jr. definitely not, and the rest of that squad be able to perform up to the level. Derrick Jones Jr., I don't see him be able to perform up to the offensive level that we need to be in order to be able to compete with the not just the stout defense, but also the quality offense that we see the Timberwolves have. On top of the size and the motor that they have. I don't see them being able to stop Ant. I don't see them having the bodies to be able to go and put Ant in legitimate trouble like we saw Denver do. I don't see them having the personnel outside of Luka and Kyrie to be able to, if you get in a stint, somebody else needs to help me out. I don't see that. I don't see that. It's hard for me to see it. It's going to be a great competitive individual war. Who can outplay who in terms of Ant versus Luka? Anthony Edwards versus Kyrie. Karl-Anthony Towns versus Luka, potentially, if we see Karl-Anthony Towns go and say. But in terms of the overall, I don't see it. I really don't see this being able to happen. Even with as dominant as we've seen Kyrie this season. As quality as we've seen Kyrie be this season. Even though it's Luka's team, we've seen Kyrie be able to routinely turn it on at the drop of a hat. Some insane basketball. Living up to the moniker of potentially being one of the most skilled offensive players that we've seen in NBA history. Period. From an every facet standpoint. Handles, passing, as well as shooting and finishing ability. One of the best I've seen. Even that may not be enough to face off against a stout, monstrous defense in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Going up and stopping one of the best playmakers. Oh, excuse me. Let me phrase it. Going into Denver and stopping the best playmaker in NBA right now in Nikola Jokic. And the best player outright in Nikola Jokic. Coupled with right now the best playoff performer in Jamal Murray in terms of big games. This brother keeps on showing up and showing out. Stopping that duo, I don't think they'll have any problem stopping or at least containing or at least outplaying. 'Cause you can't stop Luka and Kyrie, but outplaying the rest of the team. They can definitely do that. With Jaden McDaniels. Again, with Anthony Edwards hounding in defensively. With Rudy Gobert being the anchor down low. And Karl Anthony Towns showing that he could do some good work against somebody like a Jokic. Definitely going to be able to do some good work against somebody like a Daniel Gafford, who's only a lob threat. If he gets switched on Derrick Jones Jr., again, a better shooter than we've seen him in the past, but not really a major threat. They'll be able to switch, they'll be able to cover, they'll be able to be physical, and they will be able to go and dominate. And I can see Celtics versus Timberwolves getting to the finals. I can legitimately see it. Wouldn't be to say that if Kyrie got to the finals and, dare I say, beat Boston, the team that he left, the team that leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth. Because again, a lot of fans are racist. City's racist. But hey, no hate. But still, with that whole squad, Kyrie having and leaving Boston with a bad taste in their mouth, saying that you were staying and leaving, being seen as the problem as to why they weren't able to be successful when you were the leader on that squad. Now you go and you beat them on their own court for an NBA ring. My gosh, that would be insane. And potentially where we had to put him in all-time rankings as a point guard may have to change as well if he gets 2 rings. Dare I say even Finals MVP. That is, again, the best hypothetical situation for this Maverick squad. At least for Kyrie in this situation. For Luka, if he gets a ring, oh my gosh. Solidifies his legacy as one of the greatest players of this generation. At such a young age, still going to evolve and get better and better and better. Oh, we could be looking at something dangerous over in Dallas. We really could be. In terms of the makeup of the entirety of that team. Ooh, that could be something dangerous. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see Timberwolves beat the Dallas Mavericks in about, I would say, 6. Celtics sweep the Pacers. Then we get to see Timberwolves versus Celtics. Ant-Man versus what has been touted as the face of the league, the forever young 22-year-old in Jason Tatum. And that would be an incredibly fun matchup. But again, we just have to wait and see because the playoffs are still rolling on. And we will be here to cover it all. But with all that being said, this has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Yes, indeed, it was a phenomenal episode. And again, we still got so much more to cover, so many more fights to break down, so many more playoff implications to talk about. As time goes on, we will be here to cover and talk about it all. Again, leave a like on the video on whatever, or comment your thoughts and opinions on whatever you thought was in paramount and was fun and exciting in this show. We'd love to comment with you and get your own reactions to anything that we discussed right here on this show and anything else on the channel. And again, subscribe to the channel and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here.